Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So guys, I wanted to do a full video on the Ro Khanna thing. I keep pronouncing the guy's name wrong. But I want to do a full video on it. The one in the car was somewhat rushed. It was somewhat hurried. I read the comments. On all my videos, I read the comments. And so if there's something where I feel I'm being misunderstood or I'm maybe misperceiving, like looking at the audience and hearing what they're saying, or that I think I'm just being unfair on, but I want to talk about it. This is a discussion after all. So I look at it as, yes, if I'm doing multiple videos on a particular topic, it's because I'm probably having a discussion with the audience. Let's have that talk. So in the other video, my attempt was to be conciliatory. That's what it was for. Like, the goal was, all right, we're fragmented. We're extremely fragmented. Part of that fragmentation, and again, this is one of those things I can't necessarily tell whether my perception of events in regards to influence is off. So, just because I'm my sandbox. So TYT, millions of subscribers, has run afoul of their audience, to say the least. And not just run afoul of their audience, has smeared and attacked their audience, like people who are part of the progressive circle, whatever you call yourselves, progressives. AJ Goodman, same progressive, being two of those people. Meaning Jordan smeared one, Cal smeared the other. Now, I went on Twitter today, and I saw a dumbass response from Cal. Cal seems to lose his shit at criticism. At the last time same progressive criticized him on something that she was right on, there is a flaw in having a media organization be fused to a political organization. And you're supposed to be covering the political organization. You have an incentive structure to lie. If anything, this issue with the Ro Khanna thing has brought up this particular issue. So, Jimmy Dore, and I'm talking about this from a larger perspective. This is not me taking sides or anything else. This is what took place. Jimmy Dore comes out and feels the need to defend Ro Khanna. He makes that defense. Now, same progressive makes a video going after Dore saying, yeah, Jimmy Dore is missing this particular thing. I watched her video before I pushed my video. And somebody, it was some of the comments, somebody was like, I was disappointed in his perspective on this. It was like, wow, or his tone. I was disappointed in his tone. My goal was to be conciliatory. And I guess my feeling was like, the perspective of the person who said that would be, well, he watched same progressives thing, and he didn't just come away with her opinion as a one-to-one thing. He had his own opinion. How dare he have his own opinion? I've said it before, same progressive is more virtuous than I am. I don't, that's just a true statement. I think her and I look at this, I think her and I are very similar in regards to looking at this thing of integrity. The integrity of it matters more. I care about the truth more than anything else. I don't care about your parties. I don't care about your ideologies. I just care about the truth of the matter. This is the reality of the situation to which I see it. Her and I would never pretty have issues on that. So that's off the table. The virtuous part comes in with her being, what's the word I want to look for? Uncompromising on that point. Yeah, that's what I want to go to. Uncompromising. That is a virtuous thing. That is a good thing. And you need that. You need this fulcrum of saying, yes, this is the virtue of the party. This is the baseline virtue of whatever this is. That's necessary. That's good. I don't condemn her for that at all. I'm just saying, I am not there. Like, I don't have that level of virtuousness in me in that way. I would take positions. My bias is humanity. That's my bias. How do I advance my objectives to get to this thing of this emancipatory thing for people, for humans? That's where I'm at. Am I willing to besmirch my virtues to accomplish that? Yes, I am. I am. Now, yes, is that a means justifies the end thing? Maybe. I've played chess my entire life. That's the way I look at the world. That's the way I look at politics. She doesn't look at politics in that way, though. And so, yeah, her and I are going to agree on the majority of stuff, like 90% of stuff. But if it comes down to what are your objectives, then yeah, we're going to part ways. my objectives in this point is pretty clear. I want X, Y, Z, and I want to be able to accomplish it. It's not enough for me to remain virtuous without having an objective accomplished or a way to accomplish my goals. So yes, I'm making this point that yes, she's right at a fundamental base level of what she's saying. But I'm saying being right about it it's not the same thing as getting something done about it. If that makes sense. That's not a criticism. That's praise to some degree. I'm just making the case. These are the differences in regards to the way her and I would see things. Now, one other point. If it seems like I'm rambling in this particular video, I did one on this idea of progressivism and everything else. I don't think that was rambling. That was me kind of I was trying to solidify that point of saying, this is the ideology, this is the basis of it, the philosophical basis of it, and these are the policies that we should push for. In the other video with Ro Khanna, if it seemed like I was rambling, here's the thing. I'm not always crystal clear in the perspective, if that makes sense. It's like there are some times where I'm confronted with something where I'm unclear on, I'm ambiguous. Because I'm ambiguous, I can't necessarily come down hard one way or the other. I can only give you the perspectives involved. I can say, here's the context. This is what this person said. This is what that person said. We're waiting on an answer from this person. Here are the questions that arise. Here are the things surrounding the individuals who are making these particular perspectives. If you notice, that's not an answer. That's just neutrality. That's me giving you, this is the reality of the situation. You make your choice. You make a determination on what you want to believe based on the factors presented. I do that because I'm unclear. I don't think it's a bad thing to be unclear, nor do I think it's a bad thing to say I am unclear on this, and to not necessarily come down hard one way or the other when you are unclear. You can discuss it. You can have a conversation. That's all you're having, a conversation about what these things are. So that can be perceived as rambling. That's true. So that's a fair criticism. And for other things where I'm more precise on, I'll try to be clear on. But in this particular case, I'm trying to make the point that if it sounds like rambling, it's because I'm trying to give you all the variables involved in the situation, higher context. Let's talk about this from a higher perspective. Let's get to the philosophical part of it. That's the part I like. No, that's the part I find interesting. Ro Khanna's issue is not so much Ro Khanna's issue. It's that he's affiliated with TYT. That's my argument. That's what I'm putting out. You would have, this wouldn't necessarily be an issue if certain things weren't drilled into the public consciousness. Meaning, the largest internet news network says, we're going to have Justice Democrats. We're going to goddamn change the world. We're going to take over the Democratic Party. Gold star. Good for you. Now, I have videos where I'm like, yes, that's awesome. And somewhere along the way, I started to think, well, wait a minute. He's fusing a political organization with a media organization. That just sounds like a recipe for corruption. So my perspective changed. It was, oh man, I don't like this idea. I'm not a big fan of this idea. Now, me not being a fan of the idea, it's not the same thing as me not necessarily saying, hey, this is a particular candidate that I like. I don't like or dislike Ro Khanna. I don't know enough about him to feel one way or the other about him. All I know is what I've read from WikiLeaks, what I've heard from other people and their criticisms of him. Those criticisms may be perfectly true. He just needs to answer for the particular criticism. But what I'm getting at, though, is if he wasn't part of Justice Democrats, none of this would be an issue. None of this would be an issue. Ultimately, it's an arbitrary standard that was placed upon him because he wanted to be affiliated with Justice Democrats. Now, the argument that's arisen from this breaks down into two camps. He's taken money, he said bad things about people in the Progressive Party, and he's taken positions that were counter to what progressives would go by, meaning TPP. That's the arguments against him. Essentially, yes, these things. He's done these things. He's taken these positions. He's worked with Hillary Clinton. This guy is now trying to call himself a Justice Democrat, but these are the things in his past. The tech sector thing, where he had all the money, where he could accumulate the money and everything else. That's the argument. That's the crux of the argument against him. When you look at all this stuff, that's the bare bones argument. The counter to that argument is, at least that the other people make, is, yeah, these were single donations. He did not take large amounts of money. These were singular donations. And yes, you saw something from WikiLeaks, but that was an email. Now, take that how you take that, but it kind of goes further into this thing of, in addition to that, his policies, the things he's espousing, are pretty progressive, meaning he's espousing things that you yourself are trying to get, or you yourself are trying to get, ideally, that you would want, particularly for a left in the country. That's the conversation. I mean, that's, as I can see it, as I can weigh it, that seems to be the crux of the conversation. This guy says all these progressive things that he says he wants to accomplish and that he's supporting, and those were only minor donations. And yes, you saw an email, but he's a Democrat. He's functioning as a Democrat, so he's behaving as a Democrat. That's the argument. Now, how you fall on that argument is purely dependent upon you. Meaning, there is no right answer. Like, I look at the comments, and the people are making these statements as if there is a word of God answer, that it is cosmically correct, that this is the right answer for this particular situation. I'm saying, I am unclear on that answer. You may have this word of God answer. I don't have that word of God answer. I have unclarity and ambiguity. Ultimately, both sides of the argument are perfectly correct. Meaning both things can be true. Like, you could have the particular guy who at some point he's a Democrat, he's functioning as a Democrat. So yeah, is there a situation where he was trying to get cash? Yes, he uses cash to run. That's probably true. That wouldn't shock me in the least, to be true. Is it a situation he was working with Hillary Clinton? Yes. He thought she was going to be president. That would not shock me one iota, to be true. Was he for the TPP and this other stuff? That would not shock me in the least, to be true. Now, on the other side of it, is it possible that these are the positions that he are espousing? Yes, he may be espousing progressive positions. Is it possible that there were single donations, that just because he had the ability to get that much money doesn't necessarily mean he was taking money in that way? Is it possible there were single payer donations? Yes, that is also true. Oh man, it's almost like both sides can be true. There doesn't necessarily need to be a demonizing of one side. Both sides can exist simultaneously. This is true. And each side is weighing things in a particular way that arrives at a certain position. It doesn't mean that the other side is wrong. It just means they disagree with you. Certainly you realize there's a difference in those things. It's not I'm disappointed with the tone that the person took in regards to how they're weighing it. Why are you disappointed? They came to a different conclusion. Is it possible that the way they weigh things is different? If I am functioning purely from a level of purity, and look, and this would be probably the philosophical discussion between same progressive, if her and I ever had a conversation on this stuff, this would probably be the disagreement, or this would probably be the crux of it between us. This is chess to me. This is three-dimensional chess. What do I need to do? What resources do I have at my disposal to get the world that I want? Are there going to be things that I'm going to have to accept for that? Yes. It comes with the bargain if you want to get stuff done. It just is what it is. And that's not me saying, yes, you put up with Ro Khanna. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just making this point that we're in a quagmire. And you need to start thinking about it from a larger perspective of, okay, what are the methods to get you out of the quagmire? A, you do have a Democratic Party that exists. B, you've had millions of people leave that particular party, including people who call themselves progressives. C, there is no leftist party in this country. So yes, all those people left the Democratic Party. They woke up, they said, holy shit, this party is a dumpster fire. These guys have said in court they can lie to us at a whim. That's a problem. So they left. Good for them. Gold star for them. They should have left years ago. But now you have a dilemma. If you're going to be a part of the political process, there is no leftist party in this country. The left has not organized. You have a Democratic Party. It still exists. They're weakened. They're broken in that sense. People understand the party to which they are. You have the leftist group who's left, but has not organized themselves around any particular point. You have this other aspect of the left that becomes militant Democrats and essentially tried to hijack the Democratic Party with force. And it came with a rule set saying we would not take corporate cash. Meaning anybody who's going to be a part of this organization is not going to take cash. Now, this is problematic. If you're outside of this party and you're trying to create another party, anybody who they pull to their side is somebody who you're not getting on your side, meaning somebody you're not getting in your particular party. But you have a second problem. You don't have a problem, and you don't have a party to articulate your legislative agenda. You're in the wilderness. Now, there's nothing wrong with being in the wilderness if you're trying to aggregate yourself around something, meaning you're trying to cobble together something and be something. But I don't know what the left is trying to be. And I've put out multiple videos with this thing of saying, hey, let's organize. And this is not a, pointing down thing. I'm saying, I'm making this point of, hey, let's organize. Let's summit. Let's pull these groups together in some particular way. I don't even know how to do it. I'm saying, let's do it. Whether you're talking about all these YouTube channels, all these things, all these people who call themselves leftists, who call themselves just being earnest arbiters in regards to their channel. Even if we don't necessarily fully agree politically, certainly we can harness around truth and honesty. You guys can go back and forth about the Ro Khanna thing in regards to whether or not it's good or whether or not it's bad. Just recognize that the other people who have a disagreement with you on this are not wrong for doing so. They want to get stuff done, and they find this as a vehicle to trying to get something done or try to move the ball down the field. Now, you may say he's not pure enough for that. That's fair. But you can't necessarily say these guys are wrong for saying they want to try to move the ball down the field. What is your goal? And don't you think that these people who want to move the ball down the field, even though they disagree with you on this very specific point, have the actual same objectives that you have in mind? Is that potentially true? Is that true to any measure? If that's true to any measure, if that's true, then recognize the fact that you just have a disagreement with them. This is not a big hullabaloo. All of this is a leftist disagreement. All of this reality is purely just us. It's us talking to ourselves. I'm just trying to make this point that these guys aren't your enemy in this sense. The other progressives, just like you, hate the Democratic Party to the same degree that you hate the Democratic Party. Full well recognizes that we need another party. We need another vehicle. Yes, those people also want to come up with something, some summit, some thing that all of us rally around, that all of us put our stake in the ground and says, yes, this is what we're going to try to accomplish. And this is the left. Now, until you do that, you have no political clout. You have nothing by which to force the Justice Democrats to have a conversation with you about until you do that. But that is something that you must do. So, wagging your finger at the guys who say, okay, I want to get something done, it's not going to get you anywhere. You can wag your finger, but you're standing where you're standing. You're not budging an inch. And the question that I would guarantee you that these guys are asking is, look, if we have no vehicle to do anything, and this affords us a vehicle, and this guy is, yes, he's imperfect, but ultimately, he's towing our agenda. There's one more component to this. Even if you're going to say that the guy is not pure enough, he's not what you want, he was full of TPP and all these things, is it possible to any degree that's possible, that he caught a prevailing wind and said, holy shit, I'm going to bend this way now? Because ultimately, if I want to proceed, and I want those votes, I'm going to bend this way, meaning you've bent the political will of a politician to something that you've wanted, because he was terrified that that was his way in that sense. Like, meaning he believed that this was such a current that he wanted to be a part of this particular current, so he decided to plug into this. Now, the only question becomes, do you believe what he's saying in regards to his policy? That's the question. That's the secondary question. Yes, you're going to support this guy because you think he moves the ball down the field. Do you also believe that he's going to do those things? Look, I can only put this out there as this is what's taking place. These are the factors that are involved in this particular conversation. The thing I kind of want to stress is still conciliatory, though. Your brethren, your fellow lefties, they aren't wrong for necessarily wanting to try to move the ball down the field. Nor are you wrong for wanting to be purists. Those things are all parts of perspective. None of those perspectives are wrong per se. They're right or wrong depending upon what you're trying to accomplish. If your goal is to be somewhat pure, then yeah, Ro Khanna is not going to work for you. Based on your own value system, that doesn't work. If your goal is to get shit done, That's a different standard. That's a different standard. And because that's a different standard, then yeah, you may make a different decision on whether or not you're saying, okay, we need another party, all this stuff is true, but yes, I'm going to support Ro Khanna. I'm just trying to make this point. I just have to read the comments. I just wanted to stress this particular point. Nothing gets accomplished without falling in line to some degree. And no, I'm not saying fall in line behind Justice Democrats. My opinion of that hasn't changed one iota. That's a problematic structure. But I'm making this point that if you want to get accomplished on the left, figure out a way to combine your energies, to merge, to deal with these little dust-ups as for what they are, full well recognizing that you have a higher goal in mind. I'm not saying everybody to be kumbaya. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not even saying everybody should form behind a thing, perform behind any particular banner. I do think what I put out as the progressive vision is a pretty damn good vision, but that's arrogance. That's from my own ego. In this particular case, I'm saying from a larger perspective, what is your goals? Are your goals the same as the people who are the goals you're agreeing with or you're disagreeing with? Yes, those goals are the same. All right, then you guys are going to have disagreements in a sense. But can't you respect the position of each side, knowing that each side isn't wrong in the way they're weighing those things? They're just weighing those things differently. That's all I'm saying. You can hold both of those things in your head at the same time and not let them eat themselves. Like those ideas can simultaneously exist. You can say, I disagree with them, but I understand why they're doing it. And be perfectly okay with it. Be perfectly okay with it. If you want people to do something differently, you need to create something different. Right now, that's the option that those people see. If you want a different vehicle, make a goddamn different vehicle. Wagging your finger at them is not what does it. Giving them an outlet, another way of doing things, does. There's a difference in those things. You can be a purist. You can say, I need this guy to be this particular way, 100%. Or you can be the guy who says, all right, I want to move the ball down the field. It's not a perfect play. There are no perfect plays. I want to move the ball down the field. But just understand, both of those things are the same. That's all I'm saying. Both of those perspectives are valid. You're not people who feel one way about the other. So, all right, guys. If you enjoyed the content, feel free to share, subscribe, like, and you can always support the work through Patreon. Thank you.